Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Meet Praneeth. In today's video, we are going to discuss the January 2023 visa bulletin. A lot of us were anticipating for this visa bulletin for a long time, and the reason is that in 2022 December visa bulletin, uscis mentioned that there could be a possible retrogression in EB1, and that news has come true. So in January 2023 visa bulletin, we are seeing there is a 10-month retrogression in EB1 for both India and China. And we'll talk in detail about EB1, but before that, let's see what is happening in EB2 and EB3. So as for uscis, there is no change in the dates or the final action date or the date of filing for EB2 and EB3, neither for India nor for China. There is no movement at all. It's exactly the same as what it was in that December 2022 visa bulletin. Now, what it means is that the USA is still processing cases, but they don't see any further retrogression right now at this stage. Neither they see any huge movement in the numbers because they're still trying to figure out and still trying to give visas to the people who are still waiting with the final election dates or the priority date, which are current based on the final election dates. So, and the same stays for other categories as well. Like if you just glance at the visa bulletin, and I'll put a picture here for you, you can see that there is no movement in 2023 visa bulletin, January visa bulletin, when compared to the previous one, which is from December. Now let's talk about the EB1 visa. So the EB1 visa got retrogressed by almost 10 months. So right now, the final action date that USCIS has put for EB1 for both India and China is 1st of February 2022. And the date of filing has been set to 1st June 2022. Now the question comes, what is the difference between the final action date and the date of filing? I've explained this in the previous video as well, but just for another reference, if your final action date is 1st February 2022, and let's say your priority date is before or on 1st February 2022, then you can go ahead and file your F-585, and probably if your case is approved, you'll get the visa allotted to you. However, if your priority date is falling between 1st February and 1st June 2022, that means you can go ahead and file. That's why it's called date of filing. So you can go ahead and file, but your case will not be approved or your visa will not be allotted to you because your priority date is not current. So this is just a period where you can start preparing for your application, get your medicals done, get everything packaged, sent to USCIS so that they can have everything settle, and as the priority date becomes current, your case would be processed and you will be getting your visa. So anyone whose priority date is before 1st February 2022, go ahead and file for your 485. There is no issue. Probably your case would be approved and you'll get your visa. But if your final action date falls after 1st June 2022, your priority date falls after 1st June 2022, then right now you cannot file for your I-485. You'll have to wait for either the date of filing to move and so that your priority date falls within the date of filing, or the final action chart to basically come close to your date so that your date becomes current or your priority date becomes current. And now the other question that people might have asked or might be thinking about is, what happens if I already filed my 485 and let's say my priority date was after June 1st, 2022. Let's say your priority date was 1st August 2022. Let's assume this. And you have already filed for it because till last month's visa bulletin, EB1 was all current. There was no issue. Now what will happen is probably USCIS will recognize that your priority date is after June 1st, 2022. So, and probably after 1st of February 2022 because that's the final election date. So probably they will issue a status saying that they have stopped working on your case and they will resume working on it once your priority date becomes current. And the other question that I think I already answered, but just to repeat, like if your priority date is between 1st February and 1st June, go ahead and file for it. The only thing that will happen is you'll not get your visa allotted until your priority date becomes current. Now let's also discuss what is the plausible reason or the possible reason behind this retrogression on EB1. Now, this is not the first time that EB1 has retrogressed, and I think I have discussed this in my previous videos. This retrogression also happened back in 2016, and I think it lasted for almost 12 months or 12 to 20 months, something like that, something in that range. So this is not new that EB1 is retrogressed, and it should not be retrogressed. It happens because sometimes there are periods or waves where you have a lot more applicants than you probably would have in EB1. Now EB1 has three categories, A, B and C, and I'm assuming most of the applications come from EB1C. Now it might happen that a lot of people who are watching my videos and they think that they can also fit in EB1 A and B probably might have started filing their cases. That is good news, and I'm happy, and retrogression is not an issue because that's not a huge retrogression. It's a small backlog, and I think probably uscis will cover it very soon. But it's good that you're now going to file your case in EB1, which is really an achievement for you, and you should be proud of yourself. Now, the other thing that I wanted to discuss is like EB1 A, B and C, three categories, so each have different number of applicants. Now uscis has put the same date for both India and China. So two things that come out of it is, well, the retrogression or backlog is very, very similar in the two countries, and also the number of applicants applying in the categories are also very similar. It could be that India might have more EB1C or EB1B when compared to China, where they might have more EB1A. That I'm not sure how the numbers are distributed, but probably that is the information that we can get from this visa bulletin. Now, one analysis that I thought would be very useful here is, can we guess how many people are in line and are backlogged in EB1? So if we do a quick math here, right now for fiscal year 2023, we know there are 200,000 green cards available, employment-based green cards that uscis has to give out. And I'm assuming uscis will give all 200,000 out. So 7% of that number becomes 14,000. So 14,000 green cards are available for India. Out of that, 28.6% comes to EB1, which comes to around 4,004 green cards. So if you take this 4,004 green cards and divide roughly by 12, that number comes to somewhere around 330. I might be wrong in the calculation, but I think it should be somewhere around 330. And if you multiply that number by 10, that comes to 3,300. So from basic math, you can guess that probably 3,000 or more than 3,000 people are still waiting for their green card in EB1. And that number is more than the number that is available for uscis to give out. So for example, if 4,000 are available and there are 3,000 more people waiting for it, that's why the retrogression happened, and uscis had to go ahead and put a date on the filing so that they can give out green cards in the right space, and priority dates should be also considered while giving out the green cards. So I am estimating that around 3,000 people, probably it could be more. I am hoping it's less, and should this retrogression just comes back to current as soon as possible. Now, one other worry that is behind this whole situation is ROW is retrogressed. So rest of the world is retrogressed, though the final election date is 1st November 2022, which is not really that bad. It's just a month or two of retrogression. But I'm just hoping that it doesn't increase. If that starts to increase, when I say increase, that means that the retrogression goes back to, let's say, August 2022, or let's say stays at November 22 even after multiple rounds of visa bulletin. That's worrying. And that's worrying because there will be no spillover from those numbers to EB1, which further gets spilled over to EB2 and EB3. So we can assume that for coming visa bulletin months, if there is no change in ROW and if ROW doesn't become current, probably this backlog in EB1 and EB2 might increase. However, it's very difficult to say. So probably we should wait till April, May, and see what happens, how these numbers change. I am hoping that EB1 will not further retrogress. I think uscis has already put a cap on it, so probably they have made sure that the retrogression is controlled, but you never know. If there are more applicants, retrogression will increase, and that retrogression in EB1 will affect EB2 and consequently will affect EB3. So I think right now the situation is very unclear. So if you know what your priority date is, and if your I-140 is already approved and your priority date is before 1st February 2022, go ahead, file for your 485 in EB1. If it's after 1st February 2022, but before 1st June of 2022, then file your application although you will get your EAD and AP, but your green card will only be allotted once your priority date becomes current. But if it's after 1st June, I would say start gathering all the documents that are needed. And soon I'll be making a video which will be talking about 485 documentation specifically. So get ready with all those documents, make sure you have everything, and then just wait for your priority date to become current, or at least falling under the date of filing, and then you can go ahead and file your 485. So I think this was it for today's video. Yeah, it's sad that EB1 is retrogress, but don't worry, I think it has happened before, and probably with more visa numbers coming in from the ROW, EB1 retrogression should phase out. And also sometimes there are just huge number of people applying in these categories, but that would not always happen like in EB2 and EB3, because EB1 is really very tough to get in. So I hope this retrogression will phase out soon, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and there will be one more video coming this year on 30th of December 2022. That would be the part 2 of Aditi's journey. So make sure you watch that. It would have really nice information and tips and the journey that Aditi has to share with all of you. So I wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I'll see you on 30th of December 2022.